Here with Brian Duprey, an actor. He plays and portrays Frank Sinatra in Christmas with the Rat Pack. That's coming up at Century 2. That'd be tomorrow as we record this. You're all around the country, Brian. I have to ask you, I'm looking at you through a little bit of your filter over there with the background. Are your eyes naturally blue?
They become blue when I go on stage, so
Okay. You
they
probably
might
can't tell
come
that
out of a
mine are either.
contact lens case.
Yeah, that makes a
Yeah,
lot of sense. So I say
yeah,
you play Frank Sinatra in this production, Christmas at the Rat Pack, but you
yeah.
you become Frank Sinatra. Take me through a day of what that entails because you look like him, you sound like him. I'm sure you've got the mannerisms down, but what do you do to prepare to become him on stage?
I think the main thing is it's just kind of muscle memory at this point, but over the years, many performances on stage. Um, I guess as part of it's putting in my blue eyes and putting on the tuxedo and kind of just feeling like Sinatra, doing some makeup and different things like that, and I just start moving around backstage, sort of walking like him, and I kind of have my voice, like the baritone starts coming out a little bit more, the attitude starts coming out. And then when I hit the stage, I kind of just transform into the character. And at this point in my career, it's sort of just kind of like clockwork. It just kind of just, it's always there. I don't have to look for it too much. It's just the character's there and, ready to be Frank.
Yeah. What is the kind of genesis of your portrayal of him? Because I know you've done it a bunch,
Yeah.
not just in this production, but other venues too. So how did that start? How did that come to be where you knew you had something there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it started when I was I wanted to just be a crooner, a singer of all the standard songs. I love that era of music when I was a kid and sort of loved the, 50s and 60s and all the glamour and the Hollywood glam and all that kind of thing. I just thought it was a cool time period. But I really didn't pursue doing a tribute to Frank Sinatra or being an actor in a show or anything like that. I went to Las Vegas one time and I saw a version of a Rat Pack show, and I saw someone on stage portraying Sinatra and doing all the acting. I said, I could never do that. That was the first thing I told my friend. But years later, I ended up, doing a show like that. So I just think it just morphed into me doing it. People told me, oh, you should do the whole acting thing where you're portraying Frank Sinatra and looking like him and sounding like him. I kind of didn't want to do that, but to me, it sort of just fits me like a glove, and I can't think of myself doing anything else but that because, I'm the same height, I'm the same size, I mean, the
Yeah.
most similar voice. I mean, all of the different things that, yeah, it's really a niche, and I fill that void because people love Sinatra, they love the Rat Pack, and they want to hear it done well and done, correctly, done in performing arts theater, so they can have access to this great music, and they just want to have a fun night. And I think that we bring all of that with the Rat Pack show: nostalgia, comedy, all the voices, the looks. It's a fun filled show for all ages, really. So
Yeah. So tell
yeah,
me about this show a little bit more because you're a producer of it always,
yeah,
or also, so you have your hand in it a little bit more than
yeah,
just on stage. So
yeah.
what does it entail and what is your role as a producer? How did that come to be?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you work for someone many years, because I worked for another show in Las Vegas and sort of took them on the road as the lead, Frank Sinatra in the show, and we did a lot of touring over the years. And I decided that I built up so much knowledge of just myself performing on stage, but also how to. I had my own ideas of how I wanted to do my version of the Rat Pack show and different things like that. And I left the show and just started producing my own version of what I think with the Rat Pack. So I formed a group of guys, and my wife is also in the show as Marilyn. Makes a surprise appearance. Well,
Yeah.
not anymore. If you're listening to this, but yeah. So I just, it wasn't something that my intention to be a producer, but I ended up doing it because it's near and dear to my heart, and I really care about the characters and I care about what they're doing on stage. And I don't have to have all the jokes because Sinatra was really more of a straight man, straight guy.
Yeah.
And when he told a few jokes, didn't really go off that well. I mean, he really wanted to be like Dean Martin and hilariously funny on stage, but it really didn't happen for him. So I don't mind giving Dean Martin all the good jokes and the good lines, and Sammy these great ballads, lush ballads. And for me, I just care about the quality of the show, and everybody comes out and says that's a great show. I mean, I have my own show, called Symphonic Sinatra, that I do separately. So then I can get all the accolades. But for me, it's like job well done when the audience is on their feet, standing up and cheering, and they have a great evening afterwards. And that lasting effect of the Rat Pack is what I'm going for. The
Yeah.
lasting effect of how does that impact, them walking out, and will they say, I'm going to come back next year if they're here? That's what we want.
Yeah, we've talked about the looks, the sound. I
Yeah.
mentioned the mannerisms also. How did you get those down? What did you study and watch, and what are
Yeah.
some habits you've noticed out of Frank Sinatra just as a human being? And what's something interesting maybe you've learned about him personally that in some way you try to channel on stage?
I guess I'm sort of a natural mimic kind of person because I've always imitated all my teachers in high school, and I was kind of class clown. So I really wanted to get into comedy at first, and I wanted to, I didn't really know, but I also sang. So I didn't know where to combine different things. But I was always a good natural mimic. So for me, I don't even know what I'm doing on stage. I sort of go into that zone, and I'm just sort of just flowing in the moment, for mannerisms and stuff. Of course, YouTube videos and different things I had access to, and Sinatra recordings, just to go over what he's doing and everything like that. I don't try to like just imitate every single thing. I just try to just be very organic with it on stage. Um, and I'm sort of just like the vessel, but I'm still Brian portraying Frank Sinatra, but I'm just doing it more of like organically, whatever's coming out that night. And I'm not trying to duplicate the same thing every night, like Sinatra did. So lyrically, I would sing everything slightly different, or I'd move around slightly different depending on my mood, just as he would. So, and react to the audience as he would. And I forgot the second part of your question, but it was,
Just anything personally you learned about him
yeah,
and studying him just as a person that may have
yeah.
surprised you.
I just think that I guess he was so much more generous of a person and good-hearted, than most people would realize. I just think, he gave a lot to charity and what took care of, hospital bills for friends or even people he didn't even know. If you read something in the newspaper and he said, you know what, this old lady needs some help, I'm just gonna, write her a check or something like that. So I just think that he had a big heart, and I think that big heart was protected by a certain exterior that he had, where people thought he had a chip on his shoulder or was a little bit aloof or a tough guy. But I just think that he had learned to protect his heart over the years. And he had his heart broken many times by many women, especially Ava Gardner. So I just think that he was always protective of himself. And he was an only child. I'm an only child too. So,
Yeah.
um, you're all you have. You don't have brothers and sisters, and this is what you have. So I just think that, he sometimes he came across, as a tough guy, and I just think he was a real softy, if you really got to know him.
Yeah. And I know you kind of fooled Nancy Sinatra with
Yeah,
one of your performances.
yeah.
Have you had an audience with her or anyone who knew Frank, or have you sang or performed for people who had been close to him in the past? I know he's been gone a while, but
Yeah,
have you had that opportunity?
I have. I've, if not a live performance, it was, they've seen my video. A gentleman named Larry Minetti, he was, on Magnum PI, the original Magnum PI, back in the 80s. And he saw my video and
Yeah.
was a close friend of Frank Sinatra. And I think one of his drummers, a couple of different people that saw me, like videos of me or different things, and had nice, great things to say, which I really appreciated. But when it comes to, the Sinatra state is not as, welcoming to sort of what I do, as much as like the Elvis estate would be
Oh,
for
yeah. Okay.
Elvis tribute artists and the ETAs in Graceland. I mean, and we really need to start looking at getting a movie out, a big blockbuster with like DiCaprio in it, portraying Sinatra in a Scorsese movie. We need to look at Broadway stuff. So I think there's so much more we could see of, the Frank Sinatra songbook in form of like more documentaries, movies, Broadway stuff. And I hope that the estate is looking at all these things and would start developing more, because there's an appetite for that out there. People want to see more of Sinatra. They want to know more about him. So,
Is there an in there with his estate that you know of or that you've had or
well,
on
I,
the
yeah,
channel?
yeah, I could reach out to different people. But I just think that, what I do particularly is a niche, and we kind of just do concerts and different things like that. But I guess there is always a possibility. I just think that, they're very protective of the state is very protective of their father, there's Frank Sinatra. So I can just see them not wanting to do certain things or wanting to do certain things. But I in the future, if something came up, I would always be open to it. So
Yeah, it would definitely
yeah,
be cool to have a movie, a Frank
yeah,
Sinatra movie, because he has become a little bit. He probably was even in his time kind of that mythical figure. It'd be
yes.
good to get behind the stage a little bit and get to know him a little bit.
Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. Because I think they're afraid a little bit of Scorsese, because when you think of Martin Scorsese, you think, oh, they're going to start talking about the mob. It's going to be like Casino. It's going to be like Goodfellas.
Yeah,
Well, it's possible. But what Frank Sinatra did, Frank Sinatra worked in casinos. And at that time, casinos were run by the mob. So you tell me, like, was he in the mob? Was he friends with the guys in the mob? I mean, you had to be friendly with people. They employ you. So I just think there's some just misunderstandings and different things like that. I don't know the whole story. I'm a different generation, but to me, I just think you got to give Frank a little bit of leeway. I don't think he was involved with all of these things, but people like that. Maybe part of him liked that thing where they thought he was a tough guy, would he a mob connected or whatever like that. Maybe he sort of liked hanging around strong people. He liked hanging around with Sammy Davis Jr. and all the Count Basie band. He liked hanging around with, like people that just, all kinds of people. He
yeah.
welcomed everybody. So,
How much of a responsibility do you feel to protect that legacy somewhat?
I mean, yes, I do. I really protect the legacy because, I mean, I just, as far as I'm concerned, like Sinatra's a way so high, in my regard for, like I said, just himself as a person and what he did, for especially for music, and just, basically like created the whole. I mean, he just sang the entire Great American Songbook. I mean, when you think of one person that would you'd want to sing all of this stuff,
Yeah.
no, no discredit to Tony Bennett or Bobby Darin, but if there's one person in the world that could
Yeah.
sing all this stuff, he's like, you can only pick one person. It would be Frank Sinatra. And, he's just it, and there's never be another Frank. I mean, I can sing all I want and borrow as much as I want, but he's always going to, be the person where I'm borrowing from.
Yeah.
I'm not creating anything different than he didn't already originate. So,
One of
but
my favorite
I love to continue the legacy though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Frank Sinatra things, I guess it's
Mhm.
indirectly involves him, is when Don Rickles would go on David Letterman and tell
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra stories. Did
Yes.
any of those resonate with you? Because those were just hilarious.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there was one that, where, he sort of embarrassed Don Rickles because Don Rickles was on a date. I think that was probably one of the things you're referring to. And he said, Frank, I'm on a date tonight. So if you can just, come to the restaurant and then come over to my table and just like say, hey, how you doing, Don, or something like that. And, we shake hands and just to impress this girl. And then Frank ends up doing that,
Yeah.
doing that thing. And then he comes over to the table, introduces himself, and Don Rickles shoos him away. He's like, can't you see I'm eating, Frank? Get out of here.
Yeah.
Which is a classic thing that only Don Rickles would do. But yeah, I mean, Frank would do anything for anybody. And also, Frank cut off people too, that were in his past that he, be like, oh, you didn't talk to me. He didn't talk to him anymore. But hey, if someone crossed Frank, or, again, some people belong in your past, which is good to cut people off. Everybody say,
Yeah.
why'd you cut this person off? Hey, people in life, they cut people off sometimes because they belong in their past and they're not in their future. That's just the way life is. So, I mean, but Frank Sinatra's career was analyzed. You got to look at it from like the 1940s all the way to like the 90s. So he had
Yes.
such a long career. So it's easy to criticize a long career like that too. Um, so, but it's
Yeah,
amazing.
I was getting kind of to that. He had such a long career
Yeah.
that I would imagine portraying him has a relatively long shelf life. Is that something
Yeah.
that you have an eye on? Do you want to do this for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I want to stay, like in shape and healthy and continue to do this into my later years. And um, I don't know if anybody's going to be, doing it at a high level like that. So that's why I want to just continue and continue doing it and stay healthy and continue singing. One of my goals is to sing on the moon. I mean, I believe that there's going to be some action there and that I will be called to sing one song on the moon, and it'll take me however many hours to get there, whatever it is, days to get there. And I believe that I'll be singing. I mean, they played Sinatra in 1965 or whatever it was, singing "Fly Me
Yeah,
to the Moon" on the
yeah,
moon. And I want to be actually singing Sinatra's "Fly Me to
yeah.
the Moon" as Frank Sinatra. So that's one of my goals. And I think it will happen, whether it be Elon Musk or somebody else. We will do all these things. Believe me.
Yeah, Fly Me to the Moon, the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Is there a song you like singing more than others? And is there a song
Yeah.
from his catalog maybe that you don't get to sing or sing as much that you really like to?
I think I tend to go for like the saloon songs, like "One for My Baby" and "Angel Eyes." And I really don't sing "One for My Baby" in the show, but I'll do that in my own solo show. But I tend to like the lyrics where you're talking about loneliness and unrequited love and sadness,
Yeah.
which I think everyone can relate to. And I think that Sinatra inherently was always that sad guy in the bar, kind of drinking alone. He told other people that that was just a character on stage, but I think deep down, maybe perhaps that was Frank Sinatra. Perhaps he was the guy in a sorry sorry about that.
Works.
That's my Dean Martin calling me. He's got great timing.
Yeah,
Good comedic timing though.
absolutely.
But anyway, he was for Sinatra. I think was that person in the bar that was kind of like by himself, and everybody else was having a good time. I think that he kind of liked being in that zone too for some reason. Sometimes it's good, people say it's good to have a good cry every once in a
Yeah.
while. And I think that although he liked having fun, I think he liked having a good cry.
For sure. Well, I really appreciate your
Yeah.
time getting to know you, getting some insight, obviously, on Frank Sinatra. The show
Yeah.
tomorrow, Christmas with the Rat Pack, Brian Duprey playing Frank Sinatra. You're in Texas tonight, here in Wichita, as we record this tomorrow, Thursday, December 4th, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Brian, I really appreciate it. Congratulations on all your success and good luck.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much for everything, Jeff. And yeah, are you going to come to the show?
I hope so. I'm going to try to talk my
Okay,
wife
okay,
into it. Yeah, because I've
okay. We'll
seen
give you
the
a shout
clip.
out if you can make it.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, you take care.
All right. See
Bye
ya.
now. Bye.